So thanks, Hannah. Yes, as you mentioned, it's our Tea for Ty Hafan Day today. We've got special guests popping in to join us for tea and cake and tell us a bit about the important work of Ty Hafan and what the charity means to them. And I'm joined in the studio by Kalpna, whose little boy Riaan was cared for by Ty Hafan during his short life and sadly died in December 2024. Kalpna, thank you for coming into the studio.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, tell us a little bit about Riaan.
Riaan was our beautiful baby boy. He was born on World Rare Disease Awareness Day on the 29th of February 2024. Ironically, he had one of the rarest genetic mutations in the world. He had a CARS1 gene mutation. He was diagnosed with mitochondrial disease when he was 16 weeks old, following the onset of seizures, which led to him being in intensive care on a life support machine on a ventilator for a number of weeks. And when, as a parent, you get told that your child has a life-shortening condition, there are just no words to describe how that feels. Your world is just completely turned on its head. Riaan he had hearing loss. We found that out at a very young age, around 5 weeks. His hearing loss was confirmed, so he was born deaf, and that in itself was devastating. But Riaan's journey, sadly, at each step, things got worse at each step along the way. He suffered from severe reflux from around 3 weeks old, which led him to be NG tube fed at around 5 weeks. And that was his first hospital admission at 5 weeks old. And that was the start of it, really. After that, there was countless hospital admissions. Then came seizures. And again, just when you think things can't get any worse, the onset of seizures was so scary and frightening for us as parents. And then shortly after the seizures came his incredibly difficult and devastating diagnosis of mitochondrial disease. And that was in July. We had a few weeks of stability with Riaan over the summer. And then by September, Riaan had taken a turn for the worse. And sadly, his condition was progressing. And as you said, he passed away and he grew his angel wings a week before Christmas in December last year.
And we've heard quite a lot today already about the support that Ty Hafan offers to families. Tell us about all that support and how you first kind of got in contact, I suppose, with Ty Hafan and the support they provided you as a family.
Ty Hafan got in contact with us and they reached out to us very shortly after Riaan's diagnosis, whilst we were still in hospital. At that time, I remember, our world had just turned on its head. We were trying to grapple with the diagnosis, trying to grapple with what life was going to look like for us as a family. I've got two other children. Riaan was my third child, and Ty Hafan got in contact with us. We had numerous visits from the care team whilst we were in hospital. Dr. Evans, Kath McSorley, who were all part of the care team at Ty Hafan, Dr. Baba, they reached out to us, got to know us as a family, got to know Riaan. And when we came home with him, that support continued. Initially, it was so much going on initially. You couldn't quite understand why sort of we were having so many visits, so many weekly visits, but the reason was that because they wanted to get to know Riaan, they wanted to get to know us as a family, and that was intrinsic in terms of the support they provide. And going forward, things with Riaan changed very, very quickly. By September, like I said, he'd taken a turn for the worse. And the team knowing him, the team at Ty Hafan knowing him from July onwards meant they were able to make changes to his medications. They were able to come in and check on him, every week, check on us as a family. We were invited to Ty Hafan stay and play, baby stay and play, not just Riaan as a patient, but us as a family. So in terms of the support they provided, at a time when your world has just turned on its head, and what feels like a very, very lonely place, Ty Hafan were there to catch you at that moment, to support you at that moment, and to be there for you and guide you along that journey.
And as we mentioned, Riaan sadly died in December 2024, but you've continued to support the work of the charity so other families can get that same level of support that you have as well.
Yeah, I remember speaking to Riaan's palliative care nurse, and we could see things progressing with Riaan, and it was very frightening. It was very scary, not being in this position before. Thankfully, not really knowing other people in this position. The journey is very, very lonely. And I remember having a conversation with Riaan's palliative care nurse, and she told me not to worry. And she said to me that when you fall, Ty Hafan will be there to catch you when you fall. And they have been. The day Riaan passed away, we'd just come home from the hospice. We were there for a few days because his symptoms got really, really severe that we had to go to the hospice to try and get on top of his symptoms. We came home on the Tuesday and Riaan sadly passed away the following afternoon on the Wednesday. His palliative care nurse was on her way to come and see us for a routine visit, not knowing that when she got to us, by the time she'd got to us, Riaan had passed away, and she was there. She stayed with us, for hours that day. Things that you, as a parent of a child with life-shortening conditions, you don't want to think about, such as funeral arrangements. That's something that no parent wants to think about or deal with. And your family support worker, our family support worker, Lou, was there to help us through that, to guide us through that. The care team was there, Kath was there, our nurse, to guide us through that. And these are things really which are beyond the scope of a nurse. But this is what Ty Hafan is about. Ty Hafan takes you under their wing, and they will be there for you for each step of your journey, whether that is at the time where, at the point where the patient needs care, what they do for you in Ty Hafan, when you go into Ty Hafan, the energy in that place, it's very dark and very lonely having a child with a life-shortening condition. But when you go to Ty Hafan, the energy, you just can't describe the energy of the staff, of the place, the vibe. They just do so much for you to detract away from the darkness and detract away from that pain and sorrow. And then even at the end, they're there in some of your darkest moments, some of the darkest days, to help and support you along that journey.
And that's why we're here today, is to encourage everyone, I suppose, to support Ty Hafan, to make sure that support's there for families in the future, just like yourself. So why would you say it's important that anyone listening does what they can to support this campaign and support Ty Hafan?
It's incredibly important because, no family embarks on this journey expecting it to happen. It's one of those things that you never think is going to happen to you. No one signs up for this. No one signs up for having a child with a life-shortening condition. But sadly, that's the reality of many families across South Wales, many families like us, who have had the rug just pulled from right beneath them. And it's a very hard world to navigate, the world of medical equipment, the world of, endless hospitalizations, medications, and all of that. And without the support of what Ty Hafan offers is an incredibly lonely journey. And to think that there's only one Ty Hafan at the moment are only able to offer the support to only 1 in 10 families in South Wales is incredibly tough. It's just unfair. No family should have to walk this path alone, and yet there are families who are enduring this alone, who don't have, unfortunately, the support of Ty Hafan to help them through this. And I think is incredibly important, because without that support, a journey, an incredibly already difficult and an emotional journey, is so much more harder without the support of what Ty Hafan offers family like us.